Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Spurs Live. Spurs, another win on the board. Angie's boys are rolling. I'm here with co-host Matt this week. Josh is going to record something else away from us. So if the content seems a bit strange today, Josh is away from us for this recording. But it's me and Matt here for you today. Matt, how are you?
After yesterday, I am absolutely buzzing. Oh my God. Like literally, Liverpool were the only team not to have lost at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Curse is broken.
And finally, they've been beaten. I'm so happy. And I got a glass of red wine. So life could not be sweeter.
I agree. And another great day today as well for any Europeans out there watching. Obviously, the Ryder Cup has just finished. Europe have just wrapped it up. A win for the boys. So I'm in a good mood about that as well after we got dominated last time.
Mate,
it's been a great weekend all round.
Europe have spanked them.
Well, they left it close today. The US nearly made a comeback.
It wasn't close. Right.
Not in the end, but it nearly got there.
There were two partnerships left to come in, and you're thinking, oh, they're getting it over the line. The reality was, it was not close. Europe absolutely spanked America this time round.
Yeah, there was nothing controversial about that game, unlike the Spurs-Liverpool game, which we're going to get onto now. Probably the most talked about game of the season going into it. I think this was everyone's expectation. This was going to be probably the game of the season so far in terms of both teams went into this unbeaten. Liverpool flying. There's talk of them being title contenders. I know there's whispers about us, but I'm not sure I'm trying to buy into that hype just yet, as much as I am on board with this Ange team. And it was a game now that sort of some people say it was ruined by the officials and the controversy. You know, there's so much discourse around the officials, so we'll get straight into those decisions. Matt, initial thoughts on just the overall game. Was it ruined by the officials this time?
I am very, very biased. And because I'm extremely biased to Tottenham, no, it wasn't ruined. Like, the reality is, I mean, I'm not going to lie, we've had so many decisions go against us in the past in this very same, like, reverse fixture.
Well, the Champions League final, they changed the rule after the game for handball because of it.
They changed the handball rule. Champions League final, we had a penalty in the first 5 minutes, which literally caught him there. Yeah. Absolute joke. We've had so many awful decisions go against Tottenham that, quite frankly, no, it didn't. No, it didn't ruin the game. We won 2-1, and that's all I care about.
Agreed. I actually think last year against Brighton was just as bad as this game, but the discourse around that home fixture that we won against Brighton was like arguably just as bad officiating, but because it was Brighton and not Liverpool, it just didn't get the sort of attention that it should have.
What, when we beat Brighton?
Yeah, beat Brighton at home. That was just as bad a robbery as what this one was, to be honest.
I'm not gonna lie, like, it was awful. Like, I'm gonna be honest, right? As a Tottenham fan, I am so happy, so elated right now.
But I would be furious if the decisions yesterday happened to us.
If I was a Liverpool fan, I would be absolutely fuming. Same as if I was a Brighton fan at that game last year. Yeah. I like literally awful. To be honest, I'm fed up with the officiating. I am absolutely fed up. It is awful. It's atrocious.
Well, the PGMOL have come out and apologised again. It's not the first time. They did it after Wolves United. They've come out again. This is a reoccurring issue now since VAR has come in.
It's every week. It's every week. And quite frankly, it's atrocious. I hate the refereeing. I hate the officiating. I personally think that we should scrap VAR.
It's when you look at it and you go, they use it differently every time. The first thing we'll talk about is, because this is the least controversial one, is the Diaz disallowed goal, you know, which would have put Liverpool 1-0 ahead at the time.
But I don't think that's necessarily the least controversial. I mean, I'm not going to lie, right? I looked at it in live time and I was like, he looks onside.
It's so obvious, though. It's so obvious to the naked eye without any lines or anything. He is so far onside.
It was like he looks onside. And then they drew some lines, and I was like, okay, well,
No, they didn't. They didn't draw lines.
Well, no, they didn't when they made the decision.
That's what I mean, though. How can that be?
Afterwards, they did. I'm not gonna lie.
We'd already taken the free kicks. So they can't give it. Like, that is surely ridiculous. Do you think that we need to change the rule to be able to go back and rescind stuff like that?
Should have stood. But at the same time, I don't necessarily believe that if that goal had stood, the result of the game would have been any different.
Liverpool fans will argue differently, but it's all if buts and maybes. It's all if buts and maybes at that point.
If you scored one goal, that doesn't mean you then necessarily score another goal. You can't go, oh, we'd have had 2 goals if we'd done that. It would have been 2-2. Well, no, it's a completely different game. It's a completely different game. So, like, if I was a Liverpool fan, I would be incredibly incensed right now at what happened. However, I genuinely believe that even if that goal had stood, I still think the result might have been the same.
Possibly so, but do you think that going forward, like, I can understand if penalty decisions go wrong because they're up for interpretation, but this wasn't that. Their offside there's no room for human error. It is either offside or it isn't. That should never be going in the wrong way, ever.
I'm going to be honest. I don't understand it. I just don't. Like, they brought in VAR for a reason, and then they seem to just be misusing it. I don't get it. I honestly, I don't really know what to say. Like, you and I can agree, and I'm hoping that anyone watching is realizing that Josh and I are not just blinded Spurs fans.
No.
We are football fans at the end of the day, and we are both agreeing that decision was a travesty.
Yeah, that was one of the most outrageous decisions I've seen, probably the most outrageous decision since VAR's come in.
It went our way, and I'm happy about that. But the reality is,
one day it won't. We've had that dire incident against Newcastle where it hits his shoulder and they give it. You know, we've had Vertonghen flagged offside in his own half.
Dyer was facing the other way, and they've given it as a handball, which was a joke, right?
Well, we'll get on to the more controversial ones, because the one that's really stoked up the fire is the first red card, Curtis Jones' tackle on Yves Bissouma. In my opinion, I see it as he's gone studs high. I know it's bounced off the ball, but we saw Malo Gusto sent off last week for Chelsea for the exact same challenge. It came off the ball and his studs went into the calf, and that was a red card. If this is consistently a red card, I'm fine with that decision, and I think it should stand as a red card. The problem is that sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't, which is why
absolutely. No, I 100% agree. Like, the consistency in officiating needs to be there. The same as, all right, Tottenham conceded a penalty against Arsenal last week, but we didn't concede a penalty against Man United for essentially the same situation. And this is my issue. Like, if they're consistently giving a penalty for that, then that's fine. They're always giving a penalty for it, not a problem. The same as if they're always giving a red card for it. Okay, that's the rule. That's not a problem. It's the inconsistency. And unfortunately, it's down to interpretation. The only thing I would say is he didn't get much of the ball.
I agree. I think it's a red, a harsh red maybe, but I do think it's a red.
I think it's a red. I think it's a red card. Don't get me wrong. If that had been a Tottenham player, I'm not gonna lie. Similar to Emerson last season against Arsenal.
Yeah.
Do you remember Emerson's red against Arsenal?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. He just leaves a lazy foot. Yeah.
As a Tottenham fan, I was thinking that's ridiculous. But if I'd been an Arsenal fan, I'd have probably been convinced it was a red card.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel like this situation with Curtis Jones is similar to that situation with Emerson last year against Arsenal.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. And realistically, I look at it and I go, all right. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, when I watch the replays, they talk about him getting the ball before he gets the player. He gets a tiny amount of
bit.
Well,
talking about the replays, do you think there's a big problem with how they're showing in the VAR box, the referees, these clips where they're slowing it down and pinpointing certain screenshots of tackles? Do you think that's a problem?
In fairness, I don't see that as an issue. Like, the reality is, all right, you're slowing things down. I get that. Things look worse when they're slowed down. We know that for a fact. But I don't see that as an issue. I don't think that's the biggest problem with VAR at the moment. I think the biggest problem with VAR at the moment is human error. And
it just feels like they're not even trained. The officials behind it aren't even trained to use it properly.
Absolutely. I feel the biggest issue with VAR at the moment is human error. I don't even think that there's an issue with VAR.
The system is fine. It's the people operating it.
100%.
There's nothing wrong with the system.
100%. Like, I don't know where they've got these people from. And I don't know what they're going to do to improve them or what they're going to do to replace them. But it's a joke. Like, the first goal, like their disallowed goal, that goal should have stood.
Well, it seems to be a problem for us, though, because we talked about it before we started recording. In international tournaments, Champions League, Europa League, like 100%. Sort of foreign leagues, we never seem to see these sorts of issues.
And again, this comes back to human error. Unfortunately, we can't rely on the people. Like I said, VAR at the World Cup in November, December last year, seemed to be actually outstanding. It seemed to work really well. It was seamless. It was perfect. And yet suddenly the most profitable league in the world, which is the Premier League, which has the most money out of anyone, can't seem to replicate what they were doing in the World Cup. And it's ridiculous. Like, that first goal should have stood. And that is a VAR error. I think the Curtis Jones sending off, I think it's unfortunate.
I think it's harsh, but justifiable.
100%. 100%.
Well, there's the second one. There's Diogo Jota, which is the one that's caused a really big stink as well, because the first yellow, Udogie trips himself. But my gripe with it,
Jota does trip him. If you see his knee catches Udogie, Jota tripped him, but there's no intention there. Yeah, I think
it's harsh.
I personally think that, okay, the sending off for Jota, the reality is he was unlucky to get the first yellow. He was very, very unlucky to get the first yellow. However, I also, and they said it on Match of the Day, and they were literally like, yeah, he was unlucky to get the first yellow. But at the same time, once you are on a yellow, you don't make that challenge.
No, I think that second challenge, regardless of how you got the yellow, that's borderline stupidity to go in for that challenge. And he warranted his second yellow. Regardless if he warranted the first, he warranted his second.
And that's exactly it, right? Like, his second yellow was just petulant. He was nowhere near the ball. He lashed out, tripped him. That was it, right? He deserved the second yellow. And they said it perfectly on Match of the Day, which was, okay, he was unlucky to get the first yellow, but once you are on a yellow, you don't then make that second challenge.
Yeah.
So I think Curtis Jones was harsh, but as you said, justifiable. Like, the reality is, you watch the replays, you look at it. If that was a Tottenham player, I'd be like, oh, that's never a red. That's never a red. But if it's ever happening to a Tottenham player, I'm like, yeah, absolutely fine. 100%. And
it's one of those that there certainly were decisions that didn't go Liverpool's way. You know, they mentioned the Salah Basuma one as well. I actually think it was a foul on Basuma, but not a yellow. I think the ref was a bit trigger happy with his cards this week, as that's been a bit of a common theme this season in the Premier League. But whilst Liverpool fans can be aggrieved, they should still be very proud of how their team performed, because Liverpool performed very admirably with down to 10 and 9 men. They defended excellently until the end.
They did. Liverpool played well. But in the same vein, I'm super happy with Ange Ball.
Well, people have used this performance as a bit of a stick to beat us with over the past night, saying that, well, if you've got 9 men, bless him, if you've got 9 men, you should be trouncing teams. That's not the reality, though, because when Liverpool went down to 9 men, their furthest forward player was Endo, who's a defensive midfielder, and then they had Matip, Konate, and Van Dijk all in the box constantly. There was 2 banks for Spurs to break down, and it was a massive struggle for any team. If Spurs were already winning, I agree, free win. You should be smashing them all day because there's space. Liverpool gave Spurs no space to operate in.
Liverpool properly went to a defensive back 8. Yeah. 4 in defence, 4 in midfield, and they just set up in a situation where literally the player they were missing was up front. So as much as they might be down to 10 men, 9 men, like they set up defensively, and I thought they played very well. But I don't know. Like in all honesty, that is a game that 3 or 4 years ago we'd have still lost.
Yeah.
Like,
that's the one thing you must say about Ange. We just seem to keep finding a way to win at the minute, regardless of the time on the clock. This team just doesn't give up.
100%. We keep going. We keep playing. Sheffield United, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Right? We broke our own record. Leicester was 95 minutes. Sheffield United was 98 and 100. Right?
Yeah.
We broke our own record for the latest comeback to win. We beat Sheffield United. We came back twice against Arsenal at the Emirates. We seem to have just a supreme confidence, and we keep going.
You can tell there's a confidence amongst the group at the minute, and just done that within 7 games, and that's what I think. That's why we're so elated as Spurs fans. I've seen so many fans coming at us saying, "Oh, what you've got your Tottenham back, but what does that really mean? You know, you're on the same points and goal difference as Arsenal, who are playing terribly according to the media." That's not the point. It's been 7 games. Arsenal is hundreds of millions in and 5 years into their project. 7 games in.
Sorry,
I can't trust do that one again. It's right. Josh will have to cut that out.
Right, crack on, mate.
Right. So what? Right. Just to summarise, Liverpool should feel aggrieved, but proud of their performance, I think, with 10 and 9 men, despite the fact that they did lose it late on in what was a rather unlucky fashion for Joel Matip, but a brilliant ball by Pedro Porro that we'll get onto in a minute because we'll talk about player ratings. A bit flat from Spurs at points, but when you've got a top team sitting with 2 banks just in their edge of their own box, it's always hard to break down.
Look,
I don't think you can read too much into this game, which is a shame because I really thought this would be a test for both teams to see where they were, but I don't think you can do that anymore with this game. I don't think you can justifiably use this as a test to see where both teams are at.
No, I agree and disagree. I do agree that with the things that happened with the officials and so on and so forth, that affects the outcome and it affects whether you can take positives and everything. But at the same time, I still believe that actually it's a good litmus test for Tottenham. And you look at it and go, okay, all right, we played 10 men, we played 9 men. Absolutely fine. But that was a good Liverpool team. And
a very good Liverpool team.
Tottenham did not stop playing, right?
Yeah.
They didn't stop playing. They carried on as they were, irrespective of what was happening on the other side of the ball. When they started defending deep, and so on and so forth, Tottenham carried on playing their game, and I think it was a very good showing by Tottenham.
Agreed, and we'll talk about the 11 now. We'll sort of go player by player. I'll start off with Vicario. Another solid game from him. Again, this guy came under such scrutiny early on because of his cheap price tag, 19 million euros, and once again, absolutely excellent. A lovely double save at the start of the game to keep us in at early doors. And he was solid throughout.
Vicario, let's fire through this nice and quickly, right? Vicario, I thought good performance. Their goal.
I was a bit not disappointed with his positioning for their goal, but I would have liked him to have been a bit more central with it. But it's hit very well by Gakpo.
But I'm not gonna lie, he's hit it from 6 yards out.
Yeah,
and
it's powerful. That's tough. I can let that go.
Hit it very hard from 6 yards out. I'm not gonna lie, if he'd been 25 yards out, I'd have been very disappointed.
Yeah,
but from 6 yards out is what it is. Porro,
best performance of the season from him, I think.
I thought Porro was brilliant.
Yeah.
And realistically,
probably our best player on the day, I thought.
I'm not going to lie. Porro has just become entirely rejuvenated.
Proved everyone wrong, including us. We were critical of this before the start.
Under Ange, he is now a right back, and he's a proper right back. And defensively, he's
on and off the ball. Yeah, on and off the ball. Massive improvements off the ball, but he's just excelling in this inverted role.
Wait, pre-season, you and I and Josh were all very critical of him defensively.
Yeah. Rightly so as well. It was warranted at the start, but he's come on leaps and bounds.
But he's been fantastic. Other side of the defense, Udogie. I thought he was excellent again.
Another very solid game, just proving why he's one of the best left backs in the league at the minute.
His attacking play, he is a brilliant left back. He is good defensively. He's strong. He's composed. But his attacking play is the best in the league. For me, he is the best left back in the league at the moment.
On form, I think they'd be tough to disagree with. For anyone to disagree with you right now on form.
I honestly think and I know I'm biased because I'm a Tottenham fan, but I genuinely think he's the best left back in the league at the moment.
He was excellent yesterday, and it was a notable drop off when Ben Davies came on instead of him.
100%.
I think Udogie's just the perfect fit for this system. He's got the perfect manager to help him excel at the minute. And to finish off the defense, we'll talk about this Van de Ven Romero partnership, especially Mickey Van de Ven. What a player! What a player! Oh. I haven't seen a centre back like this at Spurs since Jan Vertonghen. He's the best I've seen since then in terms of how quickly he's hit the ground running and how natural he looks in that position. It's unbelievable.
Honestly, Romero and Van de Ven are such a strong. Honestly, if one of them gets injured, I think
we're in trouble. We're in big trouble.
If one of them gets injured, I think we'll go on a streak of losing games. But while we have them fit and playing together, Romero and Van de Ven are one of the best centre-back partnerships in the league at the moment. They're fantastic.
I thought Van de Ven, he's so young, he is going to make mistakes. And I thought, he was out of position for that Diaz goal, and which should have stood. That would have been his fault. And you could argue he probably could have closed Hackbro down for the volley and been a bit closer to him. But other than that, a couple naive mistakes positioning-wise. But he's still a kid. He's 21, 22 years old. He'll grow out of those. But overall, excellent.
He's very young. And also, the benefit is it's not always, but some of the times when he makes position mistakes, he's got the pace to make up for it.
It doesn't matter because he's so quick. Honestly, Salah's got in behind a couple of times yesterday and he absolutely burned him.
He reminds me of Kyle Walker.
He's so quick. He's just massive. I've never seen such a physical presence. Someone that size should not be able to be that quick.
Mate, when we had Kyle Walker at right back.
Oh, he was actually really... Kyle Walker is now a great one-on-one defender. He used to be terrible in the tackle.
100%. And the reality is, when we had Kyle Walker, I'm not going to lie, our glory days were when we had Walker and Rose.
Yes.
Danny Rose, Kyle
Pre-injury
Walker,
Rose, yeah.
and they were perfect, and they were just quick and amazing. They're up and down the line. But the reality is, Kyle Walker, I see that in Mickey van der Ven, and it's literally Kyle Walker would make mistakes. He'd always make mistakes. But the fact is, he was so quick, he was able to make up for it. He'd make a positional mistake and the player would be gone. Yeah. And then 3 seconds later, he'd be back goal side of them again because he was quick enough.
Yeah. Right.
And I see that in Van der Ven. And I think Romero and Van der Ven, fantastic. Right. Let's move on to the midfield. I think with the way the game was played, I think I'd quite like to refer to the midfield three.
Yeah.
Maddison, Sarr, and Basuma all together. The reality is, Maddison had a lovely ball for Son's first goal.
Yeah.
Great ball through. But he was quiet at times. But then it's to be expected. You're playing Liverpool.
And he's also carrying knocks, as we know before going. There was doubts he was even going to start the game.
100%. But I thought our midfield three was just solid.
I thought Basuma struggled a little bit in the first half, but Liverpool are pressing machines. Like they are at that that's Szoboszlai and McAllister as a midfield. They are absolute monsters in the press. And I thought sometimes he played very well out of it, but compared to his other games this season, I thought Basuma struggled the most he ever has this season in this game.
Look, I was speaking to a Liverpool fan yesterday, and I personally believe that Szoboszlai and Maddison are the two signings of the season.
Oh, 100%. That Szoboszlai is, we'll talk about him quickly. He is a joke of a player. He is brilliant.
He is brilliant, and he was more expensive than Maddison. The reason why I think Maddison is such a great signing is purely just because of his price tag.
Is such a coup, but ability-wise, Szoboszlai is
genuinely. I think Maddison and Szoboszlai are the two signings of the season.
Yeah,
right.
I agree. I agree.
Right. Okay, Rice, decent player, but you paid 105 million for him.
I think Szoboszlai's just hit the ground running. He's completely taken that team over as his own.
Szoboszlai is so good. I'm going to be honest. Aside from Kevin De Bruyne, who's obviously injured at the moment, Szoboszlai is probably the only other Premier League player that I would put in our team.
What, midfield-wise?
Yeah.
I think Bruno Fernandes probably has a shout in there as well. I do like Bruno Fernandes. But
no, I hate him with a passion.
I don't like him, but he's bloody good at football.
He is good. And in fairness, we almost had him a few years ago. We were looking to get him from what? Sporting?
Yeah. Fell apart.
And it didn't come apart. It didn't happen. But no, look, he's a good footballer, but I don't personally believe that he fits our philosophy. With Ange and the way our team is now so positive and happy-go-lucky and everyone loves each other and they're all for each other, I actually think Bruno Fernandes would be a disruption in our changing room.
Quite possibly. But, let's digress. Let's finish off the midfield. Sarr, he was fine. I thought he had another decent performance. Doesn't look out of place. He had a solid game.
He does not look like a player. He does not look like a player that has suddenly sprung up from the youth ranks. No. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't look like someone who's suddenly come out of the youth team and has suddenly been thrust into. He doesn't look like that.
No, physically, he's commanding. Technically, he's really proficient. He's excellent.
He looks like he has been a Premier League midfielder for 3 or 4 seasons.
Agreed. And that trio is just getting stronger and stronger week by week. But now let's talk about the attacking trio. We'll start with Richie on the left. I was really happy with his game.
I thought he played well.
Yeah. Which I
He
didn't think he would. I thought he'd really struggle one-on-one on the left-hand side,
No,
but he was
I
excellent.
thought he's all right. Like, he's been played out there. He's done it before. He knows what he's doing. But no, I thought he was getting on the shoulder of that defender a lot. He
Yeah,
was
he gave
making
Joe Gomez a
runs.
lot of problems.
Yeah, he was making the runs. He was getting on the shoulder of Gomez or whoever it was. It was a brilliant run for Son's first goal.
Lovely curved run and pass across the box. It was really intelligent from
Fantastic,
him.
fantastic run. Obviously, Maddison's ball was exquisite,
Excellent.
right? But Richie had to make that run to be there, and then he literally
perfect pass in.
put it on a plate for Son to turn in. I thought I was really impressed with Richarlison. I thought he had a good game.
Do you think he deserves to start the next game in left wing after that performance? Because Solomon came on, and for me, he was a bit not ineffective necessarily. He's a nice jinky player, Solomon, but I don't really see where his end product comes from a lot of the time, which is how it was at Fulham. You know, he really struggled with his end product, especially assists. I think we need a bit more out there, and Richie provided that this week.
Yeah, no, I thought Richarlison was great. I thought Solomon when he came on, I actually quite liked him. There wasn't a huge amount of end product, but I quite liked what he brought to the team because he was slightly more expansive. He was getting the ball out to the wing, and it was stretching the defense.
Yeah, I think he did a fine job when he came on, but I just think I liked Richie's more direct approach. I think he caused them a lot of problems in behind, and I just think he's got a physical presence to his game as well that Solomon just doesn't have, unfortunately.
No, I thought Richarlison was very, very good, and potentially we do use him as a left winger because he was.
I just don't think you can put Richarlison in the centre anymore because Son is just on fire at the minute through the middle.
I'm not gonna lie. Son scored again, so Son's now on what? Six goals for the season.
Yeah.
He's on 6 goals in 7 games.
Yeah, but he's only played 5 through the middle.
Yeah, but he's on 6 goals in 7 games.
He's only behind Erling Haaland. He's the second top scorer in the league at the minute. I think.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, like Erling Haaland, he's brilliant. Like I'm not saying he's not, but
Son's proved all his doubters wrong.
I'm not gonna lie.
The amount of people that thought he was finished after last season.
I genuinely believe that if Harry Kane was at Man City, he would score more goals than Erling Haaland has.
We all said it last season. I think I don't disagree. You know, and he's proven it at Bayern.
Erling Haaland is fantastic. Don't get me wrong.
He's unbelievable.
But the reality is, he's in a Man City side that dominates games.
Chance creation galore.
Chances. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, when you're in that, I mean, I reckon if I played in that Man City team, I would get.
Matt, sitting there drinking your red wine. I'm not sure you'd be much use in that team.
I guarantee you, if I was in that Man City team, I would get 1 or 2 goals a season.
I don't think so. I think you'd be lucky to get 1 or 2 shots away a season, let alone 1 or 2 goals.
Mate,
honestly, only needs 1 or 2 shots in a game, doesn't he? Because that guy is absolutely clinical.
100%. But no, Sonny is, like you said, second in the Premier League, 6 goals in 7 games. He is fantastic through the middle.
Carrying knocks as well, but Ange said he wanted to play so desperately that he would not let Ange drop him because he knew. He said his team is so special and this fixture is so important. He refused to be dropped.
Absolutely fantastic. I thought Son, like literally, Son personifies what we want in a captain. His drive, his
so many doubters, but when he got that captaincy as well, he's proved everyone wrong.
Fantastic. So then the only player we haven't yet discussed is Kulusevski.
Yeah.
And again, he was okay.
He was okay. Just with Kulusevski, frustrates me because he's on the edge of being great, like really great. But he's becoming a bit readable and a bit predictable. He used to he used to be so good cutting in because every game he would torch guys down the right and cut it back sometimes as well. He's not doing that at the minute. He seems to have lost his sort of dribbling touch that he used to have, where he used to get to the byline and cut back. He's not doing it anymore.
So I think with Kulusevski, if he had Brennan Johnson's pace, he would be unplayable and probably one of the best in the league. I believe that he's not fast enough to be an out-and-out winger.
I do think the more the time goes on, he said he's a 10 before. I'm starting to think he actually is a 10.
I'm starting to think, right? I'm starting to think that actually we get rid of Lo Celso and use Kulusevski as a Maddison backup.
He's not going to do that. You know he's not. There's no chance Kulusevski will be willing to sit on the bench.
No, I get that, but
he's now only got 2 goal contributions this season thus far. Richarlison now has more with his assist that he got yesterday. I do really love Kulusevski, and I think he's such a great outlet for us. The way he holds up the ball, and he's still one of the most progressive players on the pitch in terms of ball retention, ball progression, and chance creation. He's still one of our top creators. I just think there's more to him that we're not seeing.
Yeah,
it's disappointing. But not that he was disappointing yesterday. He was still good. But I just think there's more to Kulusevski's game than we're seeing at times, because we've seen it before.
No, I agree, and I thought he, again, it was an all right. It was a solid performance, but he's not setting the world on fire. Having said that, if we watch him against a team like Luton, he might be unbelievable. Obviously, we've got Luton next, and as we said earlier, it'd be very, very Tottenham to go 7 games unbeaten and then lose 1-0 to Luton.
We'll touch on the last 2 subs before we get on to Luton. So Højbjerg, I was really happy with his cameo, actually. I thought I was really worried when Maddison came off for him, but I thought he did really well in getting the ball out wide quickly, recycling play. Retaining the ball. I was really happy with him.
I thought Højbjerg was good.
Yeah, I did too. Skippy less so. The more minutes Skip gets, the more it becomes apparent that I'm not sure that this is his level. He came on, lost the ball a couple of times, committed a couple of fouls.
Skip should be in the Championship.
It really disappoints me because I think we all had such high hopes for Ollie Skip as one of our own, but it really just looks like this level's too much for him.
I did used to love Ollie Skip, but the more I see him play, the more I think that he should not be playing for a Premier League big.
I think it's just another Wink situation. It feels the same. Ollie Skip started off pretty strong for us, and the potential was there, but eventually that potential has to, become tangible ability.
Yeah.
And it hasn't.
I'm sorry, Skip. He's not good enough. But Højbjerg, on the other hand, I thought he was fantastic when he came on.
Agreed. And obviously, Veliz got his debut, which was nice. Obviously didn't get on the score sheet or really get anything to do, but it was nice for him to get on the pitch in a Spurs shirt for the first time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and another congratulations as well to someone that didn't get on the pitch, Jamie Donnelly, who we've spoken about on the channel a couple of times. His form in Premier League 2 has been rewarded with his first bench start. So I'm really, after, I think it's 5 goals in 7 games in Premier League 2, or 5 goals and 5 assists, something like that. So he's been really impressive for our academy this season.
Was he on the bench?
He was. Jamie Donnelly got on the bench for the first time.
Oh, I didn't realise.
Yeah. First time.
He is a very exciting prospect for the future.
Yeah, in a strong academy as well, because our academy side is very strong this year. He's been one of the standout players.
We're unbeaten, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, first and the academy for once. It's a nice change of pace. But so we'll get on. We'll end off with just a little look at where this leaves us now. Confidence should be high with Spurs players. It feels like this team is so together. And it just doesn't feel like we're going to stop anytime soon. Coming up away to Luton. And then after that, we've gone a run where we've got, I think it's Fulham's in there. Chelsea at home, obviously.
Crystal Palace
away, I think, as well. We've got a kind set of fixtures going into the next international break, or in terms of, obviously there's no easy games in the Prem, but we've got through our tough tests, and now is the time where it's getting to a point where you can't see anything other than 15 points from the next 5 fixtures at the minute, which is exciting.
I am very happy with 4 points from Arsenal and Liverpool.
Buzzing. I couldn't have asked for more. I really couldn't.
4 points from Arsenal and Liverpool is fantastic. Yeah. Arsenal away, fine. Got through that. We've then won against Liverpool. Amazing. And we should be getting maximum points in the next 4 games.
Injuries aside, I just hope we don't go weak for Luton. I really hope we don't go weak.
We won't.
That could be our downfall.
We won't. I don't see Ange doing that, especially without European football as well.
I'm hoping he's learnt his lesson from Fulham in the Carabao Cup. You know, we just don't have to get
without European football. I think Ange is going to be gung ho every game.
Yeah, let's hope Maddison and Son are fit for it coming up. But that should be a game where, you know, we really start to ramp up, you know, and keep this good form going, and hopefully go into the international break 2nd place and unbeaten. That would be a nice little treat going into the end of October, I think, is the next one.
That'd be fantastic. But no, like right now, everything is rosy. Everything is positive.
It is. It has been a great couple of weeks for Spurs. Biggest test of the season so far for us, and we've passed with flying colours. So I'm buzzing. You're buzzing. The club has never felt so together. The atmosphere at the stadium yesterday, amazing. Ange is at the wheel, and we're loving it. You know, we're loving Big Ange instead. But on to Luton next week. So you can catch us next week on Thursday for the match preview for Luton, and then again the match reaction on the Sunday. We'll have a couple of shorts up during the week, I'm sure, as well from us. But Matt, thank you for joining me today. Guys, it's been a pleasure. Make sure to like and subscribe for the video if you haven't already, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
Cheers, mate. Peace out.